Next up, we have 321 Penguins, the Doom Final Rescue. And the first Easter egg I could find was on Jason's little box of things from Space Camp. It says Vischer Sweets, and Vischer is the last name of the guy who created Veggie Tales, Phil Vischer. Later in the show, on the Penguin ship, Bing gives Sigil a hairstyle that looks like Jason and Michelle's grandmom's hairstyle. Next up, we got a special episode, The Wonderful World of Autotainment. The first Easter egg is if you go to features and you click your right arrow, you'll come to a star. If you click it,
really enjoyed getting the ventrilomatic and Rusty back in the show. Been working with Mike Sanderson, who's been doing the majority of that animation, and just getting the right amount of stilted mechanical movement out of the ventrilomatic, and then that sort of floppy vaudevillian kind of presentation that Rusty gives out. That it's a nice contrast, and it really does require two different approaches when you're animating the two of those. Ventrilomatic is just kind of that B-movie invading alien robot that silence humans. Of course, there's a lot of effects and digital things put on both of their voices, and then Rusty is just kind of that Vegas announcer guy. All right, next up, blah blah blah, and the opposition makes them both stand out pretty well, distinctly.
The second Easter egg on the DVD is if you keep clicking your right arrow, you'll come to a star. Then if you click it, you'll get the second Easter egg.
For the desk, for instance, we've got Rusty and Ventrilomatic sitting behind it. And we went back and forth about, almost having a two-level type of a desk, so that, one robot that sits shorter can be here and the taller robot can be here. But depending on how you put the camera in the shot, you may lose one or the other. So we just chose to have one flat desk that they both sit behind, and it was also less animation to do, when you don't have to see the legs of one of the characters. And Mr. Lunt is the techno-gourd of the future. So we wanted to give him, his Lunt look, but give him something that made him look a little bit space age. So we've got, he's got this little visor thing that goes on kind of like Star Trek.
Here's the first Easter egg on the actual show.
Hi, Rusty. Hi, Ventrilomatic. Hi, Larry. Hi, Bob. Hey, those are robots.
They're the same robots from the 321 Penguins cafe. There are many Easter eggs on the song There's a Hole in the Bottom of the Sea, so keep your shirt on. Alright, the first is there's Bob in a hole in the bottom of the sea. A little later in the song, there's a shot for Jonah, a Veggie Tales movie, for the sea. Later, the bump on the log is Laura Carrot. Even later in the song, the hole is Sigil from 321 Penguins. And the sea is Lyle in a boat in the sea. On Paul Grape's Erie Canal song, you can see that he's wearing his pirate hat from the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. On Junior's My Day song, you can see on the plates in his house, Bob and Larry on the mug. Next up, we have 321 Penguins Moon Menace on Planet Telelot. And the first Easter egg is in the bathroom. You can see a picture of Sigil on the wall. Next up, we have The Ballad of Little Joe. And the first Easter egg I could find was that when we are experiencing technical difficulties, please stand by. The song is his cheeseburger. Later, when little Joe is working at the pizza place, you can see an arcade game in the background. And it's Moby Blaster from Jonah, a Veggie Tales movie. Later, when little Joe gets put in jail, on the bulletin board, you can see one of the posters for Charles Pincher from The Star of Christmas, and the villain in the 321 Penguins 6 song, The Legend of Galaxy Gus. Also, Bob and Larry say what they say to close out the countertop on almost every episode.
Oh, well, I've always just had this thing for dreams. Just another way God made me special.
Yeah, and he loves you very much.
Bye. Just kidding. When Dodgeball City is preparing for the 7 years of famine, you can see Mr. Twisty's cheese curls from Jonah, a Veggie Tales movie. Next, we'll take a look at the Easter eggs in an Easter carol. And the first Easter egg is on the main menu. If you click your left arrow on your remote, you'll come onto an Easter egg.
A lot of shots, if we had to put all the details in the shot, they'd be way too complex and difficult to make. So we have to figure out ways to do those shots more simply. And the case in point would be a good example of that would be where they're in the bucket, and they're spinning, there's lots of excitement, the egg is getting close, the needle's getting right up to the edge, and you see the factory just spinning around them. Well, in fact, actually, when we animate that shot, the characters aren't spinning at all, they're sitting there. It'd be way too complex to spin the bucket, to spin them in the factory and animate the characters inside that bucket all at the same time. It can be done, but it's more difficult than you need to. So what we would do is fool the eye, and that would be the characters are sitting there being animated in the bucket without really moving, and then we composite in a spinning, the factory spinning around behind them. It's on basically like a wheel, a carousel, if you will, that's put over the top of them, and it is spun, but it's spun simply, and so then it renders together and looks really nice.
The second Easter egg is on features. If you hit your left arrow, you'll come onto the second Easter egg.
Most of our veggie characters are pretty well established. We know what they look like. All we do in concept really is add the costumes to them. But in the case of Easter, we had a brand new character, Hope. She had arms, and she had a little skirt-like dress that was part of the egg that she comes out of. So it was a very unusual character, very different from the normal veggie. And so we went through quite a process of drawing and redrawing the sketches until we got the look that we wanted. But it's frequently not enough to just have the sketches. When you go to model a character, build it in CG, it's very helpful to have a maquette. And a maquette really is just a sculpture. It's a clay sculpture of the character so that the artist doing the modeling in the computer can look at it from any direction, and if they're having trouble getting the hair just right or the hands or part of the facial detail, sometimes that is easy to translate out of the drawing and sometimes it's not. So when we go to maquette, they're able to take that, look at it, and keep working an area on the computer until they get it just right. So we decided on Hope, I wanted to do a maquette. I knew a guy that I trusted that would do a really good job at making a maquette, and I'm not sure whether I got what I wanted or not, but at least I got something.
I really hope you like this because I've really spent a long time on it, quite a few days. And, as you can see, it may need a little bit more refining, but not much. It's pretty close there. I'll show you a side view. You like that? I thought you would. Oh no, man, it went 5 days of work. No, I'll get serious here. Here's hope. Now, obvious things right off the bat. No hands yet, no necklace, and no wings yet.
The third Easter egg on the DVD is if you're on Fun and you keep clicking your left arrow. To get to the fourth and final Easter egg on an Easter Carol DVD, you have to finish the Get Me to the Church maze.
I think the recording of this song was especially meaningful to me just because it's a song that completely presents the gospel and the hope that we do have in Jesus. I mean, that he was born a baby, lived a humble life, grew to be a man, ministered, died on the cross for us as the Son of God, to give us life, and then rose again. And I mean, that's it. That is the hope, you know. And to me, I mean, in my life, in my ministry, that's what I want to be sharing, is Jesus' hope. And so I get to really sing about what happened and the power of Easter and the whole tale of it. So it's really, I mean, thrilling to be able to sing this particular song because it holds that message of hope that the world needs.
The first Easter egg of the actual show is that in Ebenezer Nezer's office, you can see a chocolate bunny, which is a reference to the chocolate factory Mr. Nezer owned in Rack Shack and Benny. There are two more references to Rack Shack and Benny later in the scene. The first is this.
I'll give them all to munch. They'll buy my yummy chocolate bunnies for breakfast, dinner, lunch.
And here's the last reference to Rack Shack and Benny.
Of course, I have to be able to talk about it too.
Later in the show, you can see that it's St. Michael's Orphanage, which is a reference to Mike Naraki, the co-creator of Veggie Tales, and also plays Larry the Cucumber. Later in the show, in Reverend Gilbert's house, you can see a picture of Granum's cottage in the background from 3, 2, 1 Penguins.